Hey there, welcome back to Total Maine. It is time now for our In the Arena segment. The big political story of the week discussed at length on your podcast is Governor Mills officially now entering the race for U.S. Senate as she looks to challenge Senator Susan Collins. She released a campaign video Tuesday morning along with a statement where she said she's never backed down from a bully and is campaigning to stand up to Donald Trump and fight for Maine people. Pat, help us understand the rollout here and how Governor Mills is framing her candidacy in this moment.
Well, I think it's a smart beginning to the campaign. Listen, we know who Janet Mills is. There are no surprises here. So she's able to say, don't forget, I stood up to Donald Trump very publicly in the White House, which outraged a lot of people, but in fact, all she said was, we'll see you in court because we're going to follow state law. She tells that story in her video. The second thing she does is say that Susan Collins, Mills feels, does not push back hard enough on the policies that Donald Trump puts in place that she believes hurt Maine instead of help us. So those two things will be the key to her campaign. She addresses age only in an oblique way by saying, I could retire, but I'm not going to. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't stay and fight the good fight.
Ethan, this is a crowded field. Governor Mills initially said expect a decision by November. This came 2 weeks into the month of October. Is there anything to read into the timing here of her getting into the race?
Well, clearly she moved up the timeline. Look, her taking as long as she took is probably the only problem with her rollout, I would say. She did a very good job, as Pat, as you said off camera earlier. Like every media outlet in the country seemed to get an interview with her this weekend, and they all released it. New York Times, Boston Globe, Washington Post, all the main papers. So very smart in that sense. But this primary is going to be where her fight really is going to be an interesting one. It's ranked choice. Jordan Wood's in the race. Graham Plattner's in the race. Those are the two that I think will stay in the race, and it will become a three-way battle. But she's obviously the big kahuna here. Like, she is somebody who's well-known. Democrats, she's got a 90% favorability rating. The onus will be on Graham Plattner and Jordan Wood to figure out how to cut into that without making Democrats angry because they really like her.
Yeah, Jordan Wood said that he welcomes her into the race and at the same time says we should do a debate
like
in
he's
all
got a
16
choice.
Maine counties.
Right.
If you're Graham Plattner, if you have a rally tomorrow, what's your message after Mills is getting in the race?
I think he has to continue doing, look, Janet Mills, honorable service, did a great job for the state. We appreciate her. It's time to move on. We need new blood. We can't beat Susan Collins with an establishment candidate. That's why we need a new face. I think that's going to be his message, and it should be his message. Whether it will win or not, we don't know yet.
Phil, the Maine Republican Party releasing a statement wasting no time Tuesday. I think this came out 10 minutes before her own release, saying Janet Mills is certainly going to use her attacks on President Trump as an example of courage. But now we see she was just acting as a loyal partisan when siding with the transgender lobby and fighting Trump in court at the expense of Maine students and families. Why was the GOP so eager to get their own messaging out, especially ahead of the governor's formal announcement?
You know, I think if I'm Senator Collins, I want to run against Janet Mills. There's a long legacy of legislative, district attorney, and gubernatorial policies and decisions that can be debated. I'm not sure running against one of the other candidates gives Susan Collins that opportunity because they're all a blank slate.
But why would they attack Mills then? I mean, they're going after Mills so hard. Isn't that because they're scared of her?
Well, I think it's because they want to draw the contrast right from the beginning that you know, wait a minute, you can listen to Janet Mills tell how she's a fighter and she's going to resist Trump, but Collins' side of the conversation is saying, yeah, well, look at all these issues that Janet Mills has been advocating for. Is this what Mainers really want in Washington?
Ethan, in that GOP statement, they painted Mills as being a handpicked so-called candidate of Chuck Schumer. Reporting has indicated that he recruited her heavily to participate in this race and to run. Does having his support help or hurt Mills in this moment?
I don't. I think that's such insidery stuff. I mean, Graham Plattner said he won't vote for Chuck Schumer, but I think it's such a small sliver that really cares about those kind of issues. People are going to care about who it is that's fighting for them, who they think can beat Susan Collins. Those are really going to be the issues here. So I think the Republicans, that's insidery stuff, going after the issues that Phil was just talking about. But look, Janet Mills, everybody knows her. There's nobody in the state of Maine who you say, oh, I don't know who Janet Mills is.
But Schumer's role ensures that the fire hose of campaign money will be turned on frequently.
It will be for sure.
Phil, when Susan Collins starts actively campaigning here, how would she try to counter some of the perceptions that have put out there about her influence, the Appropriations Committee, whether or not she has lived up to expectations there, if the influence that she has in working with the Trump administration has been diminished? What should her messaging be?
Well, I think she's got a demonstrated track record of calling them as she sees them. She has gone upstream against the Trump administration on numerous occasions. I think you'll find once the government reopens and the appropriation process, budgeting, if you will, comes to hopefully the first budget we've seen passed in, 20-something years, comes to fruition, people will see that her experience and leadership is effective.
And Pat, if Mills ends up winning the primary, I know this is a long ways out, we're looking ahead to next summer, and becomes the challenger to Susan Collins, there'd be a lot of attention on that race. What does it look like?
Well, yeah, it'd be the clash of the titans because each of them has demonstrated an ability to win statewide races, something that no opponent of Susan Collins could ever say. So we do know something. There are many people who say Janet Mills does represent what I want out of my government. It's probably going to get nasty. The amount of money that's going to be spent is almost unfathomable for a race in Maine because Democrats want this seat so badly, and nationally, you look at the electoral map, it's the one they see that's most winnable to take a Republican seat away.
They've had such a collegial relationship over the years, and even recently, where we see them together at press conferences. You do think this will get nasty,
well,
if in fact that's what the general...
You hope it doesn't, because it's clear that some people were disappointed when Janet Mills said, well, no, I support much of what Senator Collins does. Well, they have to work together. If you're the governor of a state, you need your congressional delegation working on the things that are important to us. That only makes sense. I also think, as women in politics, and I don't want to sound sexist or anything, but I think there's something that they kind of recognize in each other. You've got to fight hard to get what you're going to get. And so they're both going to fight hard here, and there'll be some bruises.
Yeah.
I'm going to predict it's going to get nasty. It ain't going to be nice, and it may not be the two of them that say it, but look, the Republicans released an ad a day before Janet Mills announced going after her, just like Phil was saying.
It's a long, long road to the general
a whole
election.
year away.
Yeah.
I'm going to hibernate. I think. Just wake me when it's over.
So be sure to wake you up. All right, thank you guys so much. Remember, new episodes of In the Arena drop every Thursday. Make sure that you listen to this week's edition. You can watch it at our website, WMTW.com, watch it on YouTube, or take it along with you and listen wherever you get your podcasts.